I am sick of your crochet hot takes. I swear I've been hearing about crochet hot takes since the end of last year, but every time I think that they're finished, I just keep hearing more and more, and I don't know when this trend is going to end. So I thought, I am at a resort in Penang. I'm living my best life, just sunbathing and swimming in the pool. So how can I raise my blood pressure while I'm here in the perfect environment? And that would be to react and give my opinions on some of the most common and most unhinged crochet hot takes I have seen. So that's what we're doing in this video. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Larissa and I crochet plushies. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you for being here. Crochet hot takes have seemingly been the talk of the town. Everyone seems to be participating in this trend. I typically don't like to do things like this because I tend to avoid anything that can be remotely controversial or start an argument because I just hate arguing with people. This video is obviously going to be more opinionated. I am a very opinionated person by nature. I just don't like to share it, but I'm going to try and keep this as respectful as possible. So I'd appreciate if you guys also follow that sentiment in the comments. We should not be fighting about making knots with yarn. Like, that's my take. There are much more serious things happening in the world. So I'd rather argue about that than argue about crochet. But some of these takes are truly bizarre and some of them are okay, they're relatable. So I have put all of these crochet hot takes in my brand new Instagram broadcast channel for you guys to react to them. You can react thumbs up if you agree, neutral face if you are neutral, and then a thumbs down if you disagree. And then people also were able to add their own little comments as well to the hot takes. So that has been a lot of fun. If you guys want to be a part of more things like that, be more engaged in my community, you can go to my Instagram at Stitch by Scott and join my broadcast channel, Crochet Besties. This first hot take is the reason that I started this whole video idea. So this one said, people who make amigurumi with chenille yarn aren't real crocheters. This took me out when I first read this under a TikTok post that was like, share your most unhinged crochet hot takes, which I already knew was going to be just like people dragging amigurumi crocheters and other like little trivial things left, right, and center. But I read that and I was like, damn, what do you mean? What do you mean we aren't real crocheters? If you guys don't know me, that's basically what I do. I literally have my own chenille yarn brand, and I sell crochet patterns for amigurumi. But like, I feel like this person just hates amigurumi and hates chenille yarn, which I saw a lot of comments repeating that same sentiment, which is fine. You can have your preferences, but like, just say that instead of saying we aren't real crocheters, because what does like real anything mean? Crochet is just a skill. You can use crochet to make anything, like, and it's still crochet. Like, crochet isn't one type of clothing or like blankets or whatever. It's literally just a technique worked with any type of, not even yarn, but like a strand. You can crochet with wheat. You can crochet with, like, someone crochet with like seaweed. So I don't know, I think that's a strange, wrong take. Usually hot takes aren't really wrong because they're opinions. This one is objectively wrong. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one. The next hot take, I saw this a lot, it's I'll never make a gauge swatch, and this one is so real. Most of you guys agreed with this take. Some of you guys thought it was funny, a few of you were neutral, and then a couple disagreed with this take. Only 3 people disagreed with this take, you guys. So people are not making gauge swatches, and I agree with this. For me, I will never make a gauge swatch. I have ADHD. You think that if I have an idea of something I want to make and the yarn I want to make it with, that I'm going to spend like an hour making a gauge swatch and not just go straight into the design? That's not happening. And if it's the wrong size, I'm going to frog the whole thing, even if I spent 10 hours on it. And then I'm going to spend another 10 hours making it again, instead of just spending that shorter amount of time making a gauge swatch. That's just how I'm built. That's how I work. But if you do make a gauge swatch, you are responsible and probably a lot smarter than me. But yeah, some of you guys responded saying it depends on the pattern and depends, the type of crochet, which is so fair enough. This one is just a personal preference thing, but I'm never going to make a gauge swatch unless it's on my knitting machine. That's the only time I'll make a gauge swatch, is on my knitting machine. This next one is, I don't like when people post about how fast they can crochet or knit. Now, this one started a little bit of controversy over on TikTok, which is why I've included it in here. It was a separate video. I haven't seen the original video. I've just seen stitches of the video, like little clips. So I think the original video, this girl said she doesn't like these types of videos because it makes her feel insecure about her crochet capabilities, and like that was kind of the gist of it. And then another girl who does a lot of content like that said that this take was bullying and that, you know, she disagreed with it and it's just like a rude take, basically. So most of you guys were neutral about this take. A few of you guys like agreed, so more people agreed than disagreed, but overwhelmingly it was neutral. And some of you guys left some comments. One of you guys said, I think it's cool how quick some people can, but people who think they're better than others because of it is a bit, how's it going? Fair enough. And then another one that said, my hot take is when somebody calls it knitting, even though I corrected them like 10 times. Okay, this is that's unrelated. And then someone said that they consider themselves a slow crocheter. So this whole speed and crochet thing, it just doesn't bother me. I don't really, for me, I'm like, why did you need to share this hot take and then say that you don't like this type of content? Like, people shouldn't make this type of content because it makes you feel insecure. I feel like this one just could have been kept in the drafts. I think it's a fair take. Like, if you don't like that type of content, I think that's fair. You can like and dislike whatever you want. Like, do we have to share what we like and dislike all the time if it's going to make people feel targeted? Like, do we need to share this hot take? Like, is this making some type of like unseen community feel heard? I don't think so. I think it's just a bit of like a, you know, could have just left this one in the drafts. I don't agree. I like watching people crochet fast. Like, I would consider myself a more fast crocheter, but there are many people that crochet way faster than me, especially clothes, because I don't make many clothes. So I love seeing people make a dress in a day. I could never do that, but it's awesome. And I think if stuff like that makes you feel insecure about your capabilities, like, maybe you just need to go outside a little bit more. Like, why? I don't know. I guess it's fair, but also, like, how are you going to live life? There's always going to be people that are better than you at everything. There's always, like, you're going to be in a world full of all these types of different people. And I think you have to learn how to be okay with that and hold your own and see people with way more crochet talent and skill than you. I see that all the time and I'm just like, wow, slay, like, that's cool. I'm going to work towards being that amazing one day. I think it's just about, like, reframing it and learning how to cope, I guess, or just not watching it and just leaving it alone. Like, if it really does affect you, just click not interested and just keep it moving. But I feel like it's a really random thing to be hung up about. Next up, this one says, I'll never spend money on a crochet pattern. And this one was overwhelmingly disagreed with you guys. A few of you guys agreed and heart reacted, and a couple were neutral, but overwhelmingly disagreed. And I also disagree with this take. This one, again, is just personal preference. But for me, I spend a lot of money on crochet patterns all the time. I think especially with amigurumi, there are so many free amigurumi patterns. Like, there's so many free crochet patterns that you never have to buy a crochet pattern ever. And, you know, I think that's amazing. And I continue to make free patterns. I think everyone who makes patterns should at least have one free crochet pattern, because I think that, you know, that's how we include everyone into our community, give people who maybe don't have the money to spend on patterns some available resources to make stuff. And I think we have plenty of that. And I think that's amazing. But I do enjoy spending money on crochet patterns. I like to support more complicated patterns. Some patterns that are paid, I'm a bit like, smaller little paid patterns I won't spend money on. I'll spend money on the ones that I think, you know, for me, I feel are worth it. But some of you guys also left some comments under this one. One person said, I design most of my patterns. However, I do like to buy patterns that are already made. I support a small business, save time, and don't have to figure out color changes. Buying patterns from others helps create community too. I agree with this. And then someone else said, you pay for people's work on taking time to create the pattern. If you don't want to pay those people for their portion, make your own. Totally agree. Another one said, I thought I wouldn't pay for patterns because there's so many free ones, and as I became more involved in the crochet community, I learned to respect and appreciate the fact that I'm paying for that person's time and work. With that said, I'm making these items and turning around and selling them at my markets. The designer deserves that money. I completely agree. I feel like, especially if you are making these patterns and selling them, like, why not, you know, spend money on a crochet pattern if you feel like it's worth it? Yeah, this one's just personal preference. I think if you don't want to spend money on a pattern, so fine. If you do, that's great as well. This next one says, paid patterns that don't allow you to sell your finished product are bad. And most of you guys agreed with this. A few of you were neutral, and then very few of you disagreed with this take. And I I feel like this one is a bit nuanced. The difficult thing with these hot takes is that there is a lot of nuance that is left out because they have to be sort of quippy and quick. But I just think a true hot take is so hard to achieve because there's just so many exceptions that are just left out, or it's down to sort of context clues. But I feel like this take requires a bit more nuance because I can't stand when a pattern says that you can't sell your finished product. Like, I think that's really annoying. But if they put it somewhere visible before you can buy the pattern, like some people will only have this disclaimer after you've paid for the pattern, and I think that's like really misleading, and I think that's not right. But if you put it in like the preface of before you buy the pattern, by the way, you can't sell products made with this pattern, I think that's fair game. And I think that this style of pattern not allowing you to sell stuff you've made with the pattern opens a bit more doors for crochet designers that typically only sell their work, but a lot of people ask for the patterns. And I think if the alternative is they create a pattern where you can't sell the products that you make, and then you have access to this pattern versus them not sharing the pattern with you at all and only selling the stuff that they made, I would of course rather take having access to the pattern and being able to make it but not sell the products. So I think it sort of goes both ways, but I think they do need to be very clear that you can't sell the products made with the pattern. I've never seen this with amigurumi patterns. It's usually like clothing and bags and stuff like that. So I think with amigurumi it's crazy if you can't sell the work that you make with the pattern. This next hot take is just because you can crochet doesn't mean you can or should make patterns. And most of you guys were neutral on this. Then the next most common was disagree and then agree. I mean, I think this is true, right? Like, not everybody that crochets can make good patterns, and like, you know, I think that is just objectively true. But if you want to make patterns, then you can. If you don't want to, then you can as well. I think that one is just a pretty chill, whatever suits you best. But I do think that some people aren't great at explaining. So I think if you do want to make patterns, especially paid patterns, they have to be well written. So if you aren't able to write a well written pattern, but I think that's something you can learn. So I don't think that just because you can't write a good pattern yet doesn't mean that you can't in the future. I think it's quite easy. So it is a skill that you can build. So yeah, this take is pretty neutral for me as well. Now this one is a pretty common hot take with people that don't crochet. It's crochet wearables are ugly, or knitters. A lot of knitters feel this way, I think. This one, again, people overwhelmingly disagreed with. A couple were neutral. We have 2 thumbs up. So yeah, most of you guys disagree. I also disagree because, again, we need nuance. Like, not every single crochet wearable is going to be ugly. For me, I'm very picky with crochet wearables. I don't find crochet wearables ugly, especially since I've learned how to crochet. I've embraced the craft so much that naturally I just don't think anything crochet can be ugly because I appreciate the time and the work that goes into it and the skill. So before I got serious into crochet, I did think a lot of them were ugly, but now I've changed my perspective and I've matured in that way, I guess. But yeah, this is again just personal preference, but you can't just say every single crochet wearable is ugly because I feel like that's just objectively not true. There's so much versatility in the crochet community. So yeah, I disagree with that. This next one is resin glittery eyes are cuter than black safety eyes. Now, I heavy disagree with this, but most people were neutral, and then the next most common was disagree, and then a few of you guys agreed. I see this hot take quite a bit, and I was a little bit like shook by this, but I guess the more that I pay attention to my crochet feed, it makes a lot of sense because a lot of you guys are using the resin eyes more than the black safety eyes. And then we had a couple of responses from you guys, and most of you guys said it depends on the pattern, which is so fair as well. But for me, I am a black safety eye stan. I think black safety eyes are the cutest, and you can't go wrong with a black safety eye. I feel like the black safety eyes are always going to be cuter than the resin safety eyes, although some plushies do look cute with the resin eyes still. I feel like they look like Beanie Babies or like the TY plushies. They just, I don't know, it makes them feel a little bit more manufactured in my opinion. So I just think the black eyes are just a hit. They're cheaper, they're more accessible, they're cuter to me. But again, that is also personal preference, but I disagree with that take. Next we've got amigurumi isn't a good way to learn crochet. It's easier to start with blankets, clothes, etc. Now, I strongly disagree with this. Obviously, you can only learn crochet once, usually, unless you forget it. But I learned with amigurumi, so I completely disagree. I got really good in less than a week. that's all it took for me, even though I was doing it constantly. I think amigurumi is the perfect way to learn crochet because you can make small items that only take a couple hours as a beginner, and instead of like a blanket or clothes that take many, many hours. And you can improve so quickly that if you're making a blanket or a clothing item, you can see your stitches gradually improve as you're making it, and then it's just gonna be like some wonky finished product. Whereas with amigurumi, at least you can wrap it up, and with every single little thing you make, you can get better. And I also think that amigurumi techniques just teach you a lot of different stitches, so you'll become, the skill set is more, it's easier to apply to different things once you learn how to make amigurumi. Whereas I think if you start with blankets and clothes first, you'll have a harder time learning amigurumi after. So that's just my personal opinion, and you guys who replied to that also had similar takes to that. So I think amigurumi is the perfect way to learn how to crochet. I would recommend it every single time. Now, this next hot take is that crocheters should only use natural yarns. This is the yarn snobbery take. This one has been a very hot topic. I feel like a lot of people think that you should only use premium yarns, or, you know, natural fiber yarns is better for the environment, of course, than acrylic and synthetic fibers. But also, a lot of people now feel like that take is very classist because, you know, synthetic fibers are cheaper. And sometimes it just works better for certain projects. So I agree with that. I think that you shouldn't only use natural yarns. It is a classist take, and that you should use whatever yarn is available to you and whatever you think works best. I think the quantity which you consume, you do have to be mindful of. But, you know, if that's all you can afford, that's so fine. And if you want to work with acrylic yarn, like I use for my amigurumi, all of it is polyester because you can't mimic that chenille feel with a natural fiber yet, even though hopefully we can work towards making a natural alternative. It's going to be difficult. And also, you know, there's just our bigger problems with emissions are with these massive corporations, you know, pumping out all of these like plastic products in a much larger scale than yarns. So yeah, I think it is a bit of a classist take, and I would disagree with it too. This next hot take is that patterns should always have a stitch count at the end of every row or round. Completely agree. Most of you guys agreed with this too. Basically everybody agreed. Why would you not have a stitch count at the end of the row? I feel like this is, in amigurumi, this is unheard of. But for other types of crochet, this might be a little bit more common, but that would drive me up the wall, because how are you supposed to know? Unless it's a pattern where it instructs you to like measure yourself, then I guess I can understand, like, you know, I feel like that's just like not applicable in that case. But everywhere it applies, where you can add a stitch count at the end of the row, why would you not? Because I feel like that's the clearest cut way to make sure that you are following the pattern correctly, is to count your stitches. This next hot take I found on Reddit. It said, crochet can be just as fast fashion as Shein if you treat it like that. This take is a little bit wild. What do you mean, like Shein? Doesn't Shein put out like 10,000 new garments a day? It's literally physically impossible for someone to crochet like Shein, with like Shein quantities. I understand the sentiment of like you can overconsume, like you can overconsume with anything, right? And you can maybe like crochet a bit too much, I guess. I don't know, it's just Shein though. You guys disagreed with this too. I think that's kind of a crazy take. Some of you guys agreed, but it's like Shein, that's a bad I feel like maybe, yeah, I disagree with that. But, you know, I understand the sentiment of overconsumption. This next one says, I won't make crochet things for friends or family for free if they ask me to. So this is specifically if they ask, not you deciding to make something. You know, not some people will never make anything, period. But I think this is only for if they ask. And one of you guys said it really depends on who it is and what they want, honestly. I think I would agree with that. I haven't really had people ask me to make them things, though, because I feel like most people in my life are really respectful of, or like, you know, like a bit too, like I feel like it would be nice if some people asked me to make stuff for them, because I'm like, damn, like you want my creations? No one asks me, except like my parents and my aunties. That's a bit different, because it's my parents. I'll make something for my parents if they ask me to. But for friends, yeah, it just depends on what. But if it's little like toys, yeah, of course I'll make it for them. But yeah, depends. Completely agree with that. This next one is, imperfections don't make it more authentic, frog it. So like frog something, if you make an imperfection, don't just keep going. Most of you guys were neutral, then disagreed, then agreed. So I don't know how I feel. I'm neutral on that as well. I don't know why I included that take, to be honest. Like, if you want to add the imperfection, add it. It's your work. Like, it's your work. For me, I will frog usually. if it has an imperfection, because I can't deal with that. So I agree personally that I will frog it. But I don't know, I just don't think it's that deep, unless you're like selling it and it's like a really bad imperfection. Then I'd be like, okay, please make sure if you're going to sell something, make sure it is up to standard. But if it's just for yourself, whatever. Next we have, if someone can figure out how to replicate something you've made without buying your pattern, you can't be mad about it. Most of you guys agreed with it. I think overwhelmingly agreed. No one disagreed with this one. A couple were neutral. So yeah, I guess I agree. You can't be mad about it. Like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I feel like there's so much stuff out there that's crochet. Like, I can look at a photo pretty easily and replicate it. So yeah, I don't think it's that deep. I did add another part to this hot take, though, just to make it a little bit more juicy, where I said, if someone can figure out how to replicate something you've made without buying your pattern, you can't be mad if they also create and sell a pattern of the design. And one of you guys responded and said, I think it's all right unless and until they didn't buy the pattern nor tested for it, but they should at least mention who they have taken inspiration from or something so that it doesn't count as stealing. I'm like, does it count as stealing? I feel like it kind of does at that point. If you see someone else's pattern and then you create the exact same design with the intention of also selling it, I feel like it's just a bit of like murky water. Like, I disagree with this take, with the you can't be mad about it. If someone saw my design, copied it stitch by stitch without buying my pattern and then sold it, I would be mad about it. What would I do about it? Nothing. You can't do anything about it. You can be mad. So I would be mad. But, like, I'm not going to go and, like, shame them and create this whole big issue. But I would be like, damn, like, really? Like, you could make it a little bit different. I feel like the 10% rule, at least make it 10% different. If you make it the exact same, then, girl, I'm going to be pissed. So, yeah. Whereas most of you guys agreed that you can't be mad. So I disagree with you guys this time. But it's just personal. Once again, everything is personal. So, yeah. This next one is people should consider their skill level and experience before selling their work. And most people were neutral, and then an equal amount of you guys disagreed and agreed. I'm neutral as well on this, because if you want to sell your work, you can sell it however bad or however good it is for whatever price, as low or as high as you want. It's just basic economics of supply and demand. If people want to buy it, if someone thinks it's worth buying, then it's worth selling. Then it'll get sold. But if no one is buying it, then no one is buying it. It's just how the market works. So if you want to sell, you can sell whatever you want, but you can't force people to buy it. So that's a completely different thing. You can try and sell whatever you want. I would agree more with the skill level than the experience, though, because I started selling my work like literally 1 week into crocheting, and I feel like I was already like really good after a week. So I don't think experience matters, but skill level matters a little bit more. Like, for me, I have a pretty high standard for the work that I would want to sell. But again, you can just do whatever you want. This next one is designers who don't pay pattern testers are the equivalent of business owners who feel entitled to pay employees low wages and demand unpaid overtime. This one I also found on Reddit. This one is crazy. This is a extreme take, in my opinion. What do you mean business owners entitled? I feel like it's a completely different situation, because if you volunteer to be a pattern tester, you know the requirements. Like, for me, when I do a pattern tester call, I list out all the requirements, like, this is what you have to do. And if you want to apply, you have agreed to this contract. Like, you have agreed to these rules, and and if you don't think that, if you think your skill or your time is worth more than that, then you don't apply for the pattern test. And I think that pattern tests have a lot of benefits for the crochet community. Like, a lot of people selling patterns can't afford to pay people to test their patterns. And testing patterns is really important to make sure that they're good quality. So, there's like 13-year-olds making patterns, and like, single parents, and like people that are struggling, just trying to make a little extra dollar off of their skill. So I feel like, and it also helps people get more engaged with the community. It helps you build following, helps you, make more crochet friends. I think it's just the benefits really outweigh the negatives in this instance. And if you don't want to participate, you can remove yourself. And you also get a pattern for free, and you get to test it, because if you wanted to make the pattern, you'd pay for it anyway. And then you would create the pattern, and then you would probably post it on your crochet Instagram if you have a crochet Instagram. So then you get to do all of that you already would have done otherwise, plus getting a free pattern, and also you get posted on whoever's made the pattern on their social media too. So I think there's a lot of mutual benefits happening there. So I disagree with this take. This next one is thin yarn is better for clothing than DK plus weight yarns. And most of you guys were neutral. Some of you guys agreed. No one disagreed. So personally, yeah, it's just personal preference. I personally agree. That's why I got my knitting machine, because I like to be able to use the thin yarns. I love like thin, lightweight garments, but I understand using like thicker weight yarns for like my crochet shorts that I've been wearing while I'm at the beach here, and for like chunky sweaters or cardigans. Like I think, different yarns serve different purposes. Next we have, I get annoyed at people who say not your grandma's crochet, because we should be grateful for the women who created and paved the way for us to crochet today. And I completely agree with that. This whole not your grandma's, this is cool crochet, not the old crochet. Like, I understand the sentiment from a marketing perspective, and I see why companies would use this sort of sentiment to attract a new audience. Like, I get that. But I think as a crocheter myself, I have too much respect. Like, my grandma was a knitter, and, I grew up watching her knit with her stuff, and, I think I would be lying if I said that didn't influence me to become the crocheter that I am today. So, yeah, I think we should always respect the ladies before us for everything, not just crochet, right? Respect all of the things that they paved for us. Like, they fought tooth and nail for us to have rights, like abortion rights, and, like to be able to have credit cards, to be able to live, work, and get paid. So, I think this is a pretty all round, everyone should agree with this sentiment. We are now at the last hot take of the video. This one is the crochet market has too much repetitive amigurumi. And most of you guys were neutral on this, and then disagreed, and then agreed. So, I agree. There is a lot of repetitive amigurumi. I feel like that's true. Too much is subjective, I guess. Like, I think, again, people can do whatever they want. Basic supply and demand, basic economics. If people are making all the same stuff and selling them, it must mean that people are buying them. And a lot of people are upset at amigurumi crocheters for making these types of things and making repetitive things. They think that it's like overconsumption and it's like not ethical. But again, it is the basic economics of people are willing to buy it. And I think those same people that are buying the crochet plushies, if they didn't buy the crochet plushies, they'd be buying like jelly cats or other like manufactured plushies. And I would say that the crochet plushies are the more ethical of those options, because someone did hand make them. You're supporting a small business. The money is getting paid directly to a person who put in work. Like, amigurumi is a very laborious thing. It's not like AI art, So yeah, I think there is a lot of repetitive amigurumi on the market, and I do like having more diverse stuff. For me personally, I get bored making the same thing over and over again. So whenever I do markets or sell stuff, I try and give a lot of different variety, and I get a lot of comments on my videos where I show stuff that I've made that people say I have a lot of variety, and I do love that personally. But again, if people want to make the same market bestsellers, they go to market every single week, they don't have time to make all these different things. That is so fair. So yeah, I'm neutral on that take, I guess. And that is it for this hot takes video. I hope it wasn't too long, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you want to add your comments in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys have to say, but please be respectful with one another. There's no point in arguing over this stuff, and remember, it all has nuance. So, try and consider all the exceptions when discussing, instead of making blanket comments like all crochet things are ugly or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to join my little family and see more crochet related content. Love you guys. Bye.